Apple via Samsung, the luxury, power, and billion-dollar empire behind the world's biggest tech rivalry. Imagine holding a smartphone that costs more than some people's monthly salary. Now imagine that behind that tiny device are two of the most powerful technology empires in human history, Apple and Samsung. From luxury iPhones and Galaxy phones to smartwatches, computers, televisions, chips, headphones, and massive corporate headquarters, these two companies have completely transformed the way the world lives. But how did they become this powerful? How much are these companies actually worth? Who runs them? And what does the luxury lifestyle behind these technology empires really look like? Today, we're going back to the beginning of Apple and Samsung and following their incredible journey from humble beginnings to global technology empires. And by the end, you'll understand why these two companies are fighting for control of the future of technology. Part 1. The birth of Apple. Let's start with Apple. Apple was founded on April 1st, 1976 by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. At the beginning, Apple looked nothing like the luxury technology empire we know today. There was no iPhone, no Apple Watch, no MacBook, no AirPods, and definitely no trillion-dollar company. Apple started by producing computers with the Apple I and later the highly successful Apple II. Then came the Macintosh in 1984. But Apple's biggest transformation was still decades away. In 2007, Steve Jobs walked onto a stage and introduced a device that would completely change the mobile phone industry, the iPhone. Jobs described it as a combination of a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator. But what Apple created became much bigger than that. The iPhone became one of the most influential consumer products in modern history, and Apple didn't stop there. The company expanded into the iPad, Apple Watch, AirPods, Mac computers, Apple TV, and services such as Apple Music, iCloud, Apple Pay, and the App Store. What started in a small garage-era computer business had become one of the most powerful companies on Earth. Part 2. How Apple became a luxury brand. But Apple's success isn't only about technology. It's about luxury, design, and status. Think about the iPhone. Apple doesn't simply sell you a phone. It sells you an experience. The packaging is carefully designed. The Apple stores look more like luxury showrooms than ordinary electronics stores. The products are designed to work together. You buy an iPhone, then you might want AirPods, then an Apple Watch, then a MacBook, then an iPad, and suddenly you're surrounded by an entire Apple ecosystem. This strategy has helped Apple become one of the most valuable companies in the world. Under Tim Cook, Apple's financial scale became extraordinary. Apple says its market capitalization grew from around $350 billion when Cook became CEO to around $4 trillion, while annual revenue grew from $108 billion in fiscal 2011 to more than $416 billion in fiscal 2025. And remember, Apple's market value isn't money sitting in one bank account. It's the value investors place on the company through its publicly traded shares. Part 3. Who runs Apple? For almost 15 years, the man leading Apple has been Tim Cook. Tim Cook became Apple's CEO in August 2011, following Steve Jobs' resignation. Unlike Steve Jobs, Cook wasn't known for dramatic product launches or legendary presentations. His strength was operations, supply chains, and business management. And under Cook, Apple became an even larger global business. Apple says its active installed base has grown to more than 2.5 billion devices, while its services business has become a more than $100 billion annual business. But Apple is now entering another historic moment. Tim Cook is stepping down as CEO. Apple announced that John Ternus, Apple's Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering, will become CEO on September 1st, 2026. Tim Cook will become Apple's executive chairman. That means Apple is entering a completely new era, and the world will be watching closely to see whether Ternus can continue Apple's incredible growth. Part 4. The birth of Samsung. Now let's travel from California to South Korea. Because if Apple represents one side of the luxury smartphone world, Samsung represents one of its biggest competitors. But here's something many people don't know. Samsung is much older than the iPhone. Samsung was founded in 1938 by Lee Byung-chul, and it didn't begin as a smartphone company. Samsung originally started as a trading company. Over the decades, the business expanded into different industries. Eventually, Samsung became one of the world's biggest electronics companies. Samsung Electronics became famous for televisions, home appliances, semiconductors, and mobile phones. Then came the Galaxy smartphone family. Galaxy became Samsung's answer to the iPhone. But Samsung didn't simply try to become Apple. It developed its own identity. Large displays, powerful cameras, Galaxy Ultra smartphones, foldable phones, smartwatches, wireless earbuds, premium televisions, home appliances, and perhaps most importantly, semiconductors. Because Samsung isn't just a phone company, it is also one of the world's most important technology and semiconductor manufacturers. Part 5. How much is Samsung worth? So how much money are we talking about? Samsung Electronics reported approximately 333.6 trillion Korean won in revenue in 2025. That's equivalent to hundreds of billions of US dollars. Samsung also reported approximately 43.6 trillion Korean won in operating profit and 45.2 trillion Korean won in net income for 2025. And Samsung's market capitalization surpassed 1,000 trillion Korean won during 2025. But here's what makes Samsung especially powerful. When you look at Apple, most people immediately think about the iPhone. But when you look at Samsung, there is an entire industrial empire operating behind the Galaxy phone. Samsung produces memory chips, it produces displays, it makes televisions, it makes home appliances, it makes smartphones. It develops advanced technology for the global electronics industry. So when you buy a Samsung Galaxy smartphone, you're buying a product from a company that operates across a massive technology ecosystem. Part 6. Who runs Samsung? So who is actually running Samsung? Samsung Electronics has a different leadership structure from Apple. The company currently has two CEOs, Young Hyun-jun, Vice Chairman and CEO, and Tae-moon Roh, President and CEO. Roh is particularly important to the smartphone business. He has spent years working within Samsung's mobile division and became one of Samsung Electronics' CEOs in 2025. This dual leadership structure reflects just how enormous Samsung's business has become. One side of the company focuses heavily on components and semiconductor technology, while another focuses on consumer products such as smartphones, televisions, and appliances. Part 7. The luxury behind Apple and Samsung. Now let's talk about the luxury. When people hear the word luxury, they might think about supercars, private jets, yachts, and mansions. But Apple and Samsung demonstrate another kind of luxury: corporate power. Apple operates enormous corporate facilities, premium retail stores, and advanced research and development operations around the world. Its products are positioned heavily toward the premium end of the consumer market. Samsung operates on an equally enormous scale. From semiconductor factories and research facilities to luxury televisions, smartphones, and smart appliances, Samsung has created an entire technology ecosystem. And at the top of companies this large, executives can receive enormous compensation packages and enjoy the privileges that come with leading global corporations. But there's one important distinction. The company's value is not the same thing as the CEO's personal net worth. If Apple is worth trillions of dollars, that doesn't mean Tim Cook personally owns trillions. And if Samsung's market value reaches enormous levels, that doesn't mean its CEO personally owns the company. Corporate wealth and personal wealth are two completely different things. Part 8. Apple vs. Samsung. So which company is more powerful? Apple has built an extraordinary ecosystem around premium hardware, software, and services. Its biggest weapons include the iPhone, its services business, brand loyalty, and the integration between its different devices. Samsung has something extremely powerful of its own: an enormous manufacturing and component business. Samsung doesn't just sell smartphones. It produces semiconductors, displays, and countless other technologies. Apple dominates much of the premium smartphone conversation. Samsung competes directly at the premium level, while also offering smartphones across many different price categories. And that's what makes this rivalry so fascinating. Apple and Samsung aren't simply fighting over smartphones. They're fighting over artificial intelligence, chips, displays, wearables, computers, software, and the future of consumer technology. Hash out Roh. Who will control the future? From a small computer company founded in 1976 to a global empire valued in the trillions, Apple's journey is one of the greatest transformations in business history. And from a trading company founded in 1938 to a technology giant generating hundreds of billions of dollars in annual revenue, Samsung's story is equally incredible. But the next chapter could be even bigger. Apple is entering a new leadership era with John Ternus set to become CEO. Samsung continues pushing deeper into artificial intelligence, semiconductors, smartphones, and connected technology. So the real question isn't simply who won the smartphone war. The bigger question is who will control the technology of the future? Apple? Samsung? Or perhaps another company we haven't even heard of yet? One thing is certain, the battle between these two technology giants is far from over. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for more videos about the world's most luxurious companies, celebrities, billionaires, and technology empires. This is where luxury meets power.